What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. If you're new to the program or you haven't done so yet, please subscribe and follow on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. It really helps us out, and it makes you a cool person. So how about that? We're this close to 200 subscribers, so help us get to that number. Really like that. Be awesome. Today's positive motivational message is take care of yourself. I think often we unselfishly think about others, but sometimes you selfishly need to look at yourself and help yourself, whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually. You have to take care of yourself because you won't be able to take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself. You know, if you feel physically, you know, there's things that you can improve on, whether that's eating better, whether that's working out, just cutting out bad habits. So many of us struggle mentally. It helps to talk to people. You know, if you need to get some therapy in, that's great. You know, mental therapy, helping your mental health is so important. Getting proper sleep is great for both your physical and mental health. And spiritually, you know, if you feel like you're missing something in your spiritual life, try something to add to that. And that doesn't necessarily mean church. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know, God or whatever, but There's something to your spirit and your soul that needs to be fulfilled. And it's good to fill that as well. Because that's honestly the biggest power source in your whole everything is your soul. So if that's listening to music, if that's doing something that just makes you happy, giving you joy, and filling that spirit with joy, do it. Bottom line is, take care of yourself. Take care of your physical. Take care of your mental. Take care of your spiritual. And it will help make you feel like just a completely new and better person. And then we can continue to help others. With that, we're going to take it into today's episode. I think we're on episode 259. We'll go with that. 259 of Life's a Garden. Oh yeah! Brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Thank you all so much for joining me here as always. If you are a long-time listener, welcome back. And if you are a first-time listener, welcome. Welcome for the first time. We are recording late, and we are a day late on the upload because it was a hell of a busy weekend, I should say. And I wanted to be able to talk to you and tell you about all the adventures of my band's first show on the road. So of course I was going to do it after that show. And let me just tell you, it was just exhausting. Like I've been tired, and I could have done it I could have recorded Sunday and posted on Monday, but I just felt like I wanted to have a day to just chill and relax. So that's what I did, taking care of that mental health and taking care of that, you know, just taking care of me, you know, like I said at the beginning there. That's our positive motivational message of the week. Take care of yourself. So I took a day for myself, which is fine because we can record today and post Tuesday. That's fine. It works just fine. But I will go ahead and dive in and tell you all about our show on the road. It was in Clyde Park, which is just north of, it's not really north of Livingston. It's a little bit before you get to Livingston, off of exit 340, going down I-90. And then you turn right at that, and it's only like 15 minutes from there. Dude, first of all, let me just say this. Beautiful, beautiful area. You know, you're surrounded by mountains. You got the Beartooths, the Crazies, the Bridger Mountains. There's a river that ran right by. Now, going into this, we weren't really fully sure of like how the setup was going to be. It was on one of the guy who was putting it on. It was on his property. He's one of the musicians that played. Shout out to Tyler Potter. And check out his music as well. Great guy. Very lovely to meet him. Let me just say this first. Beautiful property. Beautiful property. Great setup. Had all this room for campers and tent setup and parking. They had food vendors out there. Really good ones, by the way. The setup itself was in this barn. It was kind of like a big garage, I guess, like you would, like a shop, you know, like a car shop in a way is how I would kind of describe it. But dude, this is a I was gonna say a musician's wet dream, but I would just say this is like a bachelor's wet dream to have something like this on your property. It has like bar seating. It's got a stage on the backside. You have like a full bar setup, pool table, poker table. It's just fucking phenomenal. I will say it's probably like a bachelor musician's haven. That's the way I would put it. Since you got the stage, place to perform, plenty of room. It was awesome. So the setup itself was top tier. As I had mentioned before, this was the first time that the band had been on the road together. So it was definitely interesting to have that experience and to be able to like pull it off and know that we can, kind of a thing. It was on a Friday. We played on Friday. It was a 2-day festival. We headlined Friday night. And a great, honestly, perfect that we were headlining because one of our guys got there like 30 minutes before the show before we went on stage. So the timing of it all couldn't have been better as far as like what time we were playing. We went separately. We had 3 different vehicles. Me and Aaron rode together. Justin and Lucas rode together, and then Drew rode up with his now fiance, which, by the way, congratulations to Drew and Gabby on their engagement. But they drove up together, and Drew got off work a little late. I got my ass kicked at work. We were just so fucking busy, and somehow I skipped my lunch just so I could make sure I could leave early to get to... We wanted to get there by 6 so we could set up tent and be able to watch some of the other musicians and artists and then obviously be able to settle in and all that. So that all worked out real well. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything before. Oh, first and foremost. Not first and foremost. I've already said like 3 or 4 different things, so obviously this isn't first and foremost. But importantly, I do want to mention thank you to everybody that came out, anybody who attended, showing the support for local musicians here in Montana. Incredible. Just love that anybody that was able to come out. Special shout out to my friend Pow and to our friend Nick, both of which have been on this podcast. Huge shout out to those guys who made the 2-hour trip from Billings to come out and support. Very much huge shout out to those guys just for making that effort and being there for us. We really, really appreciate that. But to everybody else that attended too, just huge thank you. And honestly, so it was a little bit of, and this is no slight to anybody. It was about what I expected turnout wise. You know what I'm saying? I'd say about 30 to 40 people. I might be underestimating that. It maybe been closer to 50. I'm going to shoot it around 40. By the time we were playing, about 40 total in the area. Which, you know, when you think of a festival, Now, keep in mind, this was the first year they had done it. Promotion was a little behind. There wasn't a whole lot of time to promote this event, which I think hindered it a little bit. Nonetheless, the number of people doesn't really matter. It's the people that were there that matters, and the fact that we had a great time. It was just a great time to play outside of Billings. First road show, to get that under the belt, and in such a beautiful area. It's like literally God's country. I couldn't have imagined a better setting for our first road gig, and now we know we can do it. So moving forward, if we ever want to play a show on the road, we have the confidence to know that we can, and that it's very doable. You know what I mean? So that's a nice confidence booster, and just to know that, everything works out, and that was good. Now I will say this, okay? Everything bad that could have possibly happened at this show for us basically did. And I understate that because, obviously there's really tragic shit that could happen and make it a lot worse. But nonetheless, all the things that you fear as a band that could happen kind of just did. So Justin, our guitar player, broke a string midway through the set. Thankfully, had the foresight to bring a second guitar in the event that were to happen. So, smart thinking up top. And it really didn't take a whole lot of delay. He just had to grab the new guitar and tune it real quick, and we were ready to go. So, disaster averted there. It's still, when it happens, it just kind of sucks when shit like that happens. In addition, our drummer Lucas's cymbal stand broke. And so they had to duct tape it together to keep it standing. Still ended up falling over a couple times. We were able to he was able, I'm going to give him the credit, I'm not going to give us any credit on this. He was able to makeshift it so it would stand straight up, and it worked for what it was, And in the very beginning, my voice started going out, or so I thought. It felt like it was going out. I felt like I blew my voice out after the first two songs, because on the third song I was cracking a lot. I couldn't hit my high notes, and I kind of suffered through that one, and it sounded like dog shit. But thankfully after that, I was somehow able to clear my throat and make it work, and I had gotten warmed up enough where it was good for the rest of the show. Unfortunately, the two floor monitors weren't working either, so it was really hard to hear myself and for the other band members to hear me singing, which, helps the flow of the song. So I had to stand on the floor and face one of the floor monitors toward me so I could hear myself. Now, all that being said, we still had a hell of a time. We fought through all the stones that could possibly be thrown at us. We survived. We made it through all that. We still ended up putting on a great show, in my opinion. In my humbly unbiased opinion, I thought we did great. And I can only speak for... I haven't really had a chance to talk to the band since we got back. Me and Aaron have obviously talked. But I'll speak for myself at least and say that it was a great time. I think everybody enjoyed themselves. I can't imagine why they wouldn't. You know what I mean? So I suppose I'll go out on record. I don't like speaking for other people, but I'll speak as a band and say we very much enjoyed ourselves. And hopefully if we're invited back next year, we can get this going a little earlier and get more word out and get more people out there. Because let me tell you right now, it was incredible. And it has so much potential. So I think if they do it again next year, if we can get the word out sooner, it's definitely a destination spot. Like, we had a great time once everything was done and shut down. Unfortunately, well, I understand. Drew and Lucas and Justin all left and went back home that night. I get it. I like sleeping in my own bed just as much as the next guy. So I totally understand wanting to go back that night and not camp out. Me and Aaron ended up staying and camping overnight. which was fun. And Pow ended up staying as well. So we had our buddy Pow with us. And we played poker. We played pool. We listened to tunes. Oh, also, let me shout out all the other musicians that were playing that night as well. Let me get the Tyler Potter played, who was the host of the event. Another shout out to him for inviting us out and having us on the card. Also want to send a special thank you to Newly and our friends in Axe and Ass, who were kind of our inside guys on getting us on this show. Huge thank you to those guys. Super, super sorry that we weren't able to stay and see them on Saturday. I feel really bad that we didn't stay for any of the shows Saturday. We did stay the night. Unfortunately, we did have to come back a little early because Aaron had to work the next day. And, we just weren't able to stay late. But next year, we're booking it where we can stay both days. We can enjoy all the music. And it'll be better planned, I believe. So thanks to those guys, got that out of the way. I want to shout out the other artists that we played alongside, which was, I don't know if H.J. Lally actually played. No, they did. They did. I don't want to assume gender because I believe it was a woman that was singing. Tyler Potter, shout out to him. Tony Buckman, that was the other guy's name. Tony Buckman, I believe he said he's either from California or Nevada. Came up for this show. Really nice guy. Got to sit and chat with him for a while. Everybody that was there that we met was super nice, super cool. Overall experience was great, you know. I will say when we probably went to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll say. And pretty nice buzz, you know, going by the end of the night. I did not bring enough blankets to this overnight stay in a tent. I'm not a big tent sleeper, okay? I have an air mattress, which was very nice. Hate sleeping on the ground. Brought a blanket to have on the bed and a blanket to cover with. Woke up in the middle of the night to take a piss. Went back and was absolutely shivering. It was freezing out. I think it was like 50 degrees, which doesn't seem like that cold. But in the middle of the night, it's pretty damn cold. Also heard some coyotes in the distance, which was cool, but, you know, a little startling. And then woke up sweating my ass off. So that's just how that goes. And because once the sun comes out and hits on that tent, it just becomes a sauna. Didn't sleep very well on the drive back. Was very tired, very dreary-eyed. Had to pull over and get a Red Bull, which was a lifesaver. But yeah, we hung out a little bit the next day before leaving. Stayed and had some lunch and just bullshitted with all the other bands and musicians and folks that hung out. So overall, great experience. I had a blast. I would very much be down to do it again. Obviously, that is a decision to be made by the entire band. So if they all enjoyed it, then yeah, we'll be back next year to do it again. And hopefully, we'll have a lot more people that will join us, because the bottom line is, as far as shows to play outside of Billings, that's the closest we possibly would ever play, really. There's no other place that we're playing that's going to be less than 2 hours away. So, I mean, Bozeman's an obvious choice because it's a little bit bigger. So I think that makes sense to do for next year. And maybe Missoula as well, but, you know, Missoula's a 5-hour drive. That's quite a bit of a difference. 2 hours is manageable. So I think we need to do Bozeman next year for sure. And then possibly Missoula, you know, that's very much an option. So, but if the boys are down to do Clyde Park again, hey, sign me up, because I'm very much, it's called the Shields Valley Summer Festival. So keep an eye out for it next year if you're interested. It was a great time. Also, you know, now that show's out of the way, I can officially announce for you. It's already been announced on our social medias and everything, but here on the podcast, September 6th, we will be playing at Pub Station. That is a Saturday. It is a co-headlining event alongside Render Me Silent, and we have Bloodless and Pine Box Radio opening up the show. which is going to be a blast. I've never actually gotten to see Bloodless, so that'll be cool to have them on the bill, and I'll get to check them out. We've played with Render Me Silent before, and this will be our first time playing with Pine Box, but those guys are good friends of mine, and I've gotten to see them several times, so it's going to be a great time to be able to play with both of those first two bands, and then play again with Render Me Silent. Render Me Silent, if you don't remember, was the band I had here on the podcast about 2 months ago, I want to say. So go back and check out that episode, and then you can get a little insight on those guys before we get to play with them, which is awesome. And yeah, so I just want to announce that show officially here on the podcast. September 6th, I believe the show starts at 7. You can get your tickets online. You can get them through the band. We're going to have some off-sale tickets. So please, we are looking to pack the house with this one, right? We want to get enough tickets sold to get in the ballroom. And I think that's very much a possibility. So please, if you're at all a fan of me or my band or any of the other bands that are playing, get out there. This is a solid lineup of local bands. You will 100% not be disappointed in this. So if you would please support and come out and fill up that room, tell your friends, bring as many people as possible. That would be very much appreciated. So we got a few months to work on it. We got about a month and a half, right? Yeah, about a month and a half to get this thing rocking and rolling, get a lot of tickets sold. So right on there. Another thing I want to mention here. So I didn't bring this up as far as like things that were an issue going into that first show recently. Friday morning, okay? I woke up. This is show day, okay? We played Friday night. I still had to go to work and do all that before getting to the show. I wake up and my left lymph node is swollen and so sore. Like, it felt like I got punched in the neck, right? Went to bed at like 11 or midnight that night. Just fine. Haven't been sick at all. Maybe some allergies here and there, you know. I really got allergies after staying out camping. You know, anytime I'm out in nature that long, I always get all stuffy, which you can probably hear a little bit in my voice. But haven't been sick. Haven't felt sick at all. No fever, no nausea, no diarrhea, no headaches, really. You know, nothing out of the ordinary. And normally when your lymph nodes, you know, no sore throat, no sniffles, besides the allergies. Usually when your lymph nodes swell like that, it's because you're sick, right? So it was very odd that this was happening. Don't know why. And I guess sometimes they can get inflamed because of, you know, they don't drain properly or something. I don't know exactly. Either way, I'm freaking out. You know, I wake up, this is happening, I'm like, of course this is happening the day of the show. I had taken some Dayquil, and I had put a heating pad on there to try and loosen it up and relieve some of the swelling. It did go down a little bit by the end, you know, towards showtime, by the end of the day. But even still, you know, I'm up there singing, I got this fucking knot in my neck, I got this big lump on the side of my fucking head, and I'm like, that was just another thing that was going on at that time. And I think that's honestly part of why I lost my voice, was because I was like stressing out so much about that I overcompensated a little bit. Next day, it was even worse. You know, it felt like a baseball in my neck. Really, it wasn't that big, but it was at the worst it's been. And then today, I decided to go in to the doctor and finally get it checked out and see what was up. And they really didn't say that there was much they could do. I guess you just kind of got to let it work itself out. And if it doesn't after a week, then you kind of consult somebody and get it figured out. But it seems like it's better today than it ever has been, so that's good. I've been able to sleep with it the last couple days. The first 2 days were hell. Trying to sleep, it was so uncomfortable. And hey, good news. I don't have mono, because based on my symptoms and the fact that they couldn't tell, if I was actually sick or not. And mono is one of those illnesses that kind of is silent, and you just kind of get really tired. And they were like, have you been tired lately? I was like, well, yeah, but I also slept for 4 hours on Saturday after playing a show, and then had a crazy weekend. So yeah, I've been a little tired, but it doesn't seem like too much out of the ordinary or like unreasonable that I'd be this tired. So they tested me for mono, and thankfully for, all the nobody out there that I've been kissing, you don't got to worry about it. I don't got mono. But you can get it from taking people's drinks and shit like that too. Which, by the way, I don't do. So when they brought up mono, I was like, God, how could I even have possibly gotten that? Well, it turns out I didn't, so it's all good. Yeah, so, and like I've already mentioned, I'm like a serious hypochondriac. So anytime something is out of the ordinary with my body, I freak out. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Especially when I'm not sick. Why is this lymph node deciding it's gonna fucking like blow up like a balloon? What's going on? Why is this happening? Is it something worse than I'm thinking? Or is it nothing? Most likely it's probably nothing. She said drink water. That's what I'm doing. I'm drinking water. Staying hydrated. Probably going to take a little bit more of that Dayquil just in case. But, yeah. So, there's a health update. And that's another reason why I say take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Being sick sucks. Being physically unwell sucks. Saturday, when we got back from the show, now, I came home, unloaded everything, unloaded all the merch, my camping gear, all that stuff, and I took a fat fucking nap. I was so tired. Like I said, I was starting to fall asleep on the road. I was like legitimately like having to slap myself to keep myself awake. So, got home, took a fat nap, and then went downtown and watched Dustin Poirier's final fight in the UFC, which was an absolute banger. Shout out to Dustin Poirier. Shout out to Max Holloway as well, who ended up winning the fight. I thought it was a great fight. There was a lot of good fights, actually. The entire main card went the distance. They all went the distance. And honestly, I don't think there was a bad one among them. I thought they were all really good fights. Very enjoyable. I'm trying to remember. Holland was a great one. And, what's his name? I can't even think of his first name. Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland versus, who did he fight? Daniel Rodriguez. Did that end in a knockout? I think that one did end in a knockout. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was a great fight. And so was, the fight before that, which was... I don't remember. Either way, it was just a great night of fights. Congratulations to Dustin Poirier on his retirement and having a hell of a career, hell of a fight. Nothing but love for that guy. One of the best to ever do it, and just it sucks he never got the big one. He did get interim status. He was an interim champion at one point. Just never actually was the undisputed champion. Fought for, I think, 3 undisputed champions in the lightweight division. Fought for 2 BMF titles. Never got any of those. So that sucks, but, shout out to him. And for still always entertaining. Nonetheless, was always entertaining and always a good guy. Just one of the good guys in this vicious sport. And it's hard to not root for him. You know what I mean? He's such a likable guy. So, it was an honor to get to watch his fight, his final fight. Shout out to him and his family, and congrats on the retirement. Hopefully, we get to see more of him in like commentary or something like that, doing something like that behind the scenes. I'm curious what his next step is going to be. So, yeah, we had fun with that. And then Sunday, first I washed my truck because it was all covered in bug guts from that road trip. But then went to the Mustangs game. Let me tell you this. Might be one of the best Mustangs games I've ever gotten to see live. They were down by 3 points going into the 3 runs. Excuse me, my baseball vernacular is off. They were down by 3 runs at the bottom of the 8th. They tied it up going into the 9th. So they scored 3 runs to tie it up. Actually, they scored 4, I think. Were they down by 4? They were down by 4 runs going into the 8th. They tied it up. They got 4 runs at the bottom of the 8th. Top of the 9th, closed them out. So it was a tie game going at the bottom of the 9th. And they brought a runner in. My God. What a game. Now, another thing that sucked, like the one thing that did suck about that is I wore this hat, which is a trucker hat. And why don't you get a peek at this little number I did on myself? See that? See that? It looks like the fuck of my head looks like a lemon. It looks like slices of lemon on my head there. So that was cute. Thought I put enough sunscreen on, but clearly that wasn't the case. So joke's on me, idiot. I knew wearing this hat was gonna be a fucking problem, and this is what you get. This is what I get for trying to go out and have a good time and soak up some vitamin D. I get and I got the freaking raccoon eyes too. I had my sunglasses on. Apparently I didn't put enough on my face, so now I'm cooned out. I can feel it right there on my cheek and on my nose a little bit. Thankfully it wasn't too bad. But your boy's getting out there in the outdoors. Spent a lot of time outdoors this weekend, so hey, shout out to me. Not my forte. I'm an indoor cat, but cat's been going outside a little bit more. So, just a little shout out to me. Just saying. Sticking in the realm of sports, I do want to talk about Shane Gillis hosting the ESPY Awards. Listen, Shane Gillis is one of my favorite comedians. He's hilarious. I don't think that's necessarily like the gig for him. Like, not that he's not suitable for it. I think he's perfect, to be honest. I think he's like quintessential to host the ESPYs because he's great at stand-up. He's a big sports guy. He's like a guy's guy. You know what I mean? But I just think he gets uncomfortable in that setting. Now, I don't know if that's just a bit that he's doing, because I listened to his podcast and he said that he really didn't feel that uncomfortable. I think it's just a bit that he's playing into. But it does feel uncomfortable when he's up there. And like I said, if that's what he's going for, he's nailing it. I just wish he would deliver the jokes with more conviction, because the ones that that you can tell he's convicted in come across so perfectly, such as the one where he says his friend's wife's name and says that she's a 4-time WNBA star or a 4-time WNBA All-Star, and the whole crowd claps and he goes, "I'm just kidding, that's my friend's wife. I knew you guys didn't know who WNBA players were." And the whole Brittany Hicks, that was her name. The whole place just erupted. That was a great, solid joke. You know what I mean? It's fucking perfect. But then, of course, you have other jokes, and mostly it's because, you're not writing a lot of your own jokes. You have other people writing them for you, and then you don't really have a whole lot of time to work them out and figure out how to, you get the good ones. And I thought there was plenty of decent ones out there. I thought overall it was a good job. I give it a B. I think there's been better ESPY hosts, but I think he deserves a second shot. And I guess I just wasn't blown out of the water by a lot of the jokes, by the monologue at least. The Brittany Hicks one takes the cake. It was by far the funniest and will remain a staple of that monologue. He had a couple good Epstein and Trump ones too. That was pretty decent. My thing about it is, the thing I really want to talk about though is so much of the negative reactions to it. Because, while I personally didn't think it was the most hilarious work he's ever done, and I think he would agree, the fact that so many people are bent out of shape by some of these jokes is laughable to me. Like, that's the comedy of it all, is the fact that they're so upset about this. Like, The View, the fucking bitches from The View are, like, just so aghast, and, like, Whoopi Goldberg said something like, did he not read The Room? You know, like, she was a comedian at one point, was she not? Like, does she not? She understands, like, for one, yeah, that's a hard room to play for because they're not there for comedy. But every year every host does jokes. Like, that's kind of always been the thing. Similar to the Oscars and the Emmys and all this, you always have, like, a comic, whether that's Jimmy Kimmel or Ricky Gervais hosting. That's what they do. They roast people in the crowd and they tell jokes. That's always been the case. So to think that this was anywhere out of the ordinary seems so stupid. And I think at one point she even said, people are there to accept awards, not hear jokes. That is the exact same sentiment as shut up and dribble. You know what I mean? Which is hilarious that it was at the ESPYs. And, like, what a perfect analogy. You know, it's the same thing. Like, shut up, don't tell your jokes, and hand out the awards. That's basically what she's saying. He's a comedian. He was hired to do that. That's what they asked him to do. Dummy. And like I said, most of those jokes weren't even written by him. They were written by a fucking a room full of comic writers, and that was the best they came up with. You know, I think the Brittany Hicks thing was totally Shane's idea, and that was the best joke of the night. So what does that tell you? And I'm not shitting on any of the other writers. You know, there was, like I said, some decent jokes in there. But the outrage, and of course it's because some of the better jokes were at the expense of the WNBA. You'd think they would have been just absolutely, like, cheering him on when he was making fun of Trump, right? You'd think that would have been the highlight of their night. Like, they would have just been in an absolute joy. But no, they got, because it's a fucking white man up there telling jokes about women and the WNBA, which are true jokes and hilarious jokes, by the way. Oh no, you got to make sure he gets told what's up. Also, hey, women of The View, it wasn't for you. Like, that's not, you really were tuning into the ESPYs, huh? You really cared about the ESPYs? I can't imagine Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar had a nice long sit down and enjoyed themselves an evening watching the ESPYs. Like, give me a fucking break. You're gonna tear this fucking apart. You don't give a fuck about sports. Shut up. Like, now all of a sudden you care. Only when it becomes some politically incorrect joke. By the way, that keyword here is joke. Joking around, then all of a sudden, oh god, we got to get in here and spout our fucking opinion about this thing that we know nothing about. I don't even know, dude, The View, let me just deviate for a second and say, how The View is one of the fucking most dull, entertainmentless fucking programs ever. Who the hell gets off watching The View? I don't get it. They should change the name of The View to Bitches Bitching, because that's exactly what it is. It's bitches bitching about everything and anything. Do they ever not complain? Are they ever like talking about things that make them happy, or that are like good news? Or is it always just like stuff that will entice people to get angry and that they're like angry about, or arguing with each other about something? You know what I mean? It's literally bitches bitching, and that's what it is. That changed the name of the show, and honestly, by the way, always has been that. You know what I mean? And I suppose that's what people get off on. People get off on arguments and controversy and hard takes. The last person I need a hard take from is Whoopi Goldberg. Okay? And Joy Behar. Speaking of, I forgot to mention this. Well, speaking of like hot takes, taking a hot take, when we were at the UFC fights, we're watching the fights, and this dude behind me, standing right behind me, it took everything within me to not turn around and just let him have it. But I kept my cool and carried on. He's standing there, just doesn't know jack shit about fighting whatsoever. At one point he was saying that one of the guys looked scared, like he was scared, and I want to be like, you realize that these guys have done this before, right? They're professionals. This isn't their first time in the octagon. They've most likely faced some of the scariest guys already, and you think now that they've decided that they're scared? Like, terrible take. And then it was in the 4th round, and the guy goes, "Oh, they're both so exhausted. They're both getting tired." It's like, oh, really? You think that after 3 5-minute rounds of punching each other in the face that they're tired? What a take, my guy. You are on it. You might be the best UFC expert I've ever heard. 4 rounds of UFC fighting and they're tired. What a take. You are so knowledgeable. What a fucking idiot. That's like the same take that the bitches bitching would have. So, yeah, anyway. Shane Gillis. Yeah, shout out to Shane Gillis. Fucking rocked it, and I'd love to see him do it again, because why not? He's perfect for it. Another joke I liked was the Go Birds joke, where he kept shitting on, like, the Cowboys and all that. That was pretty nice. One last thing with sports, and then we'll move on to something else. Barstool just announced that they will be part of Fox college football programming, which is great. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Barstool Sports. Really like their personalities there. I think they bring a different aspect of sports. I think it's more of a fan aspect of sports rather than analytics, like actual analytics. There's room for both, and I like listening to both. I like listening to people give their hot takes that are, analysts, but I prefer hot takes from people who are fans that watch sports and watch them, not to be journalists, but to just like be fans. I'm more into that. And I like people who make jokes and say off-color shit, because that's what I would say to my friends at the bar. So, I'm a fan of Barstool. I think this is great. Again, so many people have a problem with this for some reason. There's a lot of people bitching about it because Dave Portnoy has been a controversial figure in the media landscape. For whatever reason, he's always been pretty straightforward and honest, and even when things weren't great, he got in front of it, and he's always fought against any allegations that were made against him that were ultimately deemed false. Dave Portnoy aside, there's so many good, like, Big Cat is a great talent. He's hilarious. PFT, Brandon Walker. I love all these guys. And Brandon Walker and Big Cat would also be, big points of this broadcast team that would be in conjunction with Fox College Sports programming. And also, it's not like it's... Look at... A lot of the people are saying, like, man, sports media is really taking a step down. They're really going lowbrow, huh? Because I remember back in the day when there was all these high class, like classy analysts, like so-and-so and so-and-so. I can't remember the exact names that they used. Well, dude... One of the number one people in all of sports broadcasting right now is Pat McAfee, and he's far from straight-laced and black tie type of guy. He's as off-collar and wild guy as there is, and he's on College Game Day, and he's like the main thing that gets College Game Day views. these days. Even back in the day when Lee Corso, Lee Corso's still with them, but like Lee Corso and those guys, they would goof around, they would do silly shit. There's nothing wrong with that in sports. Sports are not meant to be serious. They're meant to be fun and enjoyable. And yes, we take them serious as sports fans, but it's lighthearted fun. It's not meant to be like who gives a shit? Yeah, I wouldn't ask Dave Portnoy or Pat McAfee to tell me the evening news. But if they want to talk about sports, fucking absolutely, let them have it. That's right up the wheelhouse. That makes sense. You want to have a zany character or somebody who's gonna be more like bluntly honest and stuff like that. That's not what you want with your newscasters necessarily. Even though like podcasting, there's been a lot of podcasters that will report stuff, and that's a different lane of media. But this just shows to the evolution of media. They saw the success with Pat McAfee's show. ESPN said, bring his ass in here. We don't care that he's a little bit raunchy and a little bit more like, he cusses and he's a little bit not what's traditional for television. They said that, College Game Day, that's why they brought him in. WWE brought him in. They saw the marketability. And that's what Fox is doing. They see marketability with Barstool. Also, how are you going to fucking complain and try and bring down Barstool when they are a multi-billion-dollar industry? They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, obviously, that didn't come from nothing. They're very successful. They have a lot of great programming. I'm a fan. And I think this is a great move for Fox, especially after what ESPN has done with McAfee. They saw the success. Now they're going and doing something similar. And I think it's going to be absolutely successful. I'll be watching. They're going to bring the Stooley fan base to watch Fox Sports. That's genius. That's smart. And it's a great partnership for Barstool, too, because it'll expose more people to their stuff, as well as, it's just more exposure for them and I'm sure a fat paycheck as well. So just more people bitching, more people complaining. Now, let's get to the real fucking story of the week. Everybody's talking about it. The Coldplay concert, okay? The couple that was exposed at the Coldplay concert, I'm sure everybody knows about it, but I'll go ahead and recap anyway, just so we're all on the same page. This couple was caught on the kiss cam at a Coldplay concert and immediately reacted with pure fear. The guy ducked away. The woman hid her face, and the singer from Coldplay said, either they're very shy or they're having an affair. Turns out they were having an affair. And the guy is the CEO of a company called Astronomer, I think what it's called. Never heard of that before. And she, incredibly ironically, is the head of HR. So the head of HR is sleeping with the CEO. Both of them are married, not to each other. And they got caught on the kiss cam. Somebody ended up, I don't know why you would be filming the kiss cam, but they were. And here's the ultimate thing, okay? If they hadn't reacted the way that they did, it never would have went viral. If they would have just stayed calm and just played it off like they were actually together, nobody would have said nothing about it. Nothing. Nobody would have made a big deal. And the fact that this guy has the balls to think that he said the reason that he ducked away like that was because he thought somebody in the crowd was going to recognize him. Nobody knows who you are. You know what I mean? There's thousands of CEOs in this country that I couldn't tell you one thing about them. You could point out a CEO of a absolute mega company. You could point out the CEO of Target. You could point out the CEO of fucking Albertsons or I mean, there's a few that I know. I was about to say Disney, but I actually do know who Bob Iger is. You know, the CEO of Ford, the CEO of Toyota, the company I work for. I wouldn't know. I don't know who these people fucking look like. I bet there's people that work at that astronomer company that don't know who that guy is. So the idea that anybody would recognize him is fucking stupid in the first place. But the fault of being exposed to the world and becoming viral is purely on them because of the way they reacted. That is it. That never would have went viral. Nobody would have ever posted that because it would have been boring and nobody would have cared. And then the ultimate hilarity of this story comes from the guy's apology. He issued an apology statement that I'm just going to look it up because it's that fucking funny. CEO apology. Oh yeah, astronomer apology. Fuck. A response. Yeah, that's what I want. This is 10 out of 10 the worst response of any response I've ever seen, okay? Here we go. Oh wait, that's a different. Hang on. Oh, I put into news, sorry. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is the worst apology response I've ever heard in my life. Okay, ready? It says, I want to acknowledge the moment that's been circulating online and the disappointment it has caused. What was supposed to be a night of music and joy turned into a deeply personal mistake playing out on a very public stage. I want to sincerely apologize to my wife, my family, and the team at Astronomer. You deserve better from me as a partner, as a father, and as a leader. This is not who I want to be or how I want to represent the company I helped build. I'm taking time to reflect and take accountability and to figure out the next steps, personally and professionally. I ask for privacy as I navigate through this process. Here's where it gets real nice, okay? I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope we can all think more deeply about the impact of turning someone else's life into a spectacle. As a friend once sang, lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. So blames Coldplay and then quotes their lyrics. Also, the idea of being like, what was meant to be a private moment. I was privately trying to cheat on my wife, but then Coldplay exposed that, and I do not appreciate it. Like, I am appalled at the idea that my private affair became public. Like, you guys are assholes for uncovering my affair. I did not want my wife to find out about that. But thanks, Coldplay. Thanks, dude. That's without my consent. Hey, dude, you're at a concert with thousands of people. I'm pretty sure you forfeit consent. Like, so anytime somebody gets filmed on the Jumbotron at a football game, like, that's without consent. No, I'm honestly pretty sure on their ticket, it says straight up that you waive all consent when it comes to things like that. Just the idea of being exposed and then being pissed off about it, like, I wanted this private matter. I wanted my affair to be private. Yeah, well, no shit. Hey, by the way, if you wanted your affair to be private, don't go to Coldplay. Don't go where there's thousands of people who can see you. That's not very private, my guy. So, yeah, but it's Coldplay's fault, though. It's definitely Coldplay's fault. Yeah, bastards. How could they? And it's so funny that he called it right up the middle. He's like, they're either shy or having an affair. Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah. And the fact that she's the head of HR is just like, yeah, that does sound like an HR nightmare for that company. Good thing she's in charge of it. Hey, you're already sleeping with the head of HR. So, HR nightmare disaster averted, right? You know? Hey, you can just sleep with the head of HR and it'll all go away, right? Oh, wait. Already did. It's just the... And now it's viral everywhere and everybody's making memes about it and copying it and stuff. It's just phenomenal. And I can't get enough of it. The fact that he's so pissed off, it's like, well, yeah, you should be. You got exposed. Like, you were cheating and your dumbass went out to a public place with a lot of people and somebody recognized you? Like, you happen to get caught on camera? Idiot. Absolute idiot. You know? To point the finger and blame it towards Coldplay is just the best. And then be like, I think he even said that he was possibly thinking about suing them, which is impossible. That will never happen. So to say you're going to sue them and you're like, I'm very upset with them for doing this. But a friend once sang, and then to quote your lyrics and say that you're a friend, this guy's absolutely fucking out of his mind. Like, what an idiot. But it's just hilarious, so I can't get enough. Last bit of talking point here, my last little note that I have written down. Stephen Colbert has been released from the CBS late night show, which was David Letterman's show Once Upon a Dream, and was David Letterman, by the way, one of the greatest late night hosts of all time. Speaking of like legacy media and stuff like that, like late night television just is not what it used to be. It was never great, but it was definitely better. You know, it was when it was Leno and Letterman and Conan, that was just. And then you can go back even further, Johnny Carson, you know. There's been absolute legends who have done this. I gotta say, the current lineup of late night hosts has got to be the worst it's ever been. Like, nothing against Jimmy Fallon, and honestly nothing against Jimmy Kimmel either. Like, I don't dislike either of them. I just don't, it's just not what it was. You know what I mean? I think Fallon's probably the best of them. I think he's like just a good guy. He's not even close to Letterman or Conan. Conan was the best. I will say one thing I'll even say Kimmel. For Kimmel and Fallon, I think one thing that sets them apart and makes them like fun, at least the shows are fun, are some of the games that they play. You know, they'll do Fallon singing, doing impression singing with musicians, or, you know, they do certain things like that become very viral. I like that. James Corden absolutely sucks dick. He sucks so much. James Corden is one of the fucking worst. I hate him. He's so fucking bad. And apparently he's a fucking asshole too, so fuck that guy. Fuck James Corden. I think Seth Meyers is fine, but again, just not that great. Like, it's nothing special. And Stephen Colbert, just never liked the guy. Never thought he was that funny. Never understood why he got that job doing that. It makes perfect sense that show was canceled. Apparently its ratings were super high, but I totally get it. I totally get him getting fired. Not funny. When he did the Daily Show, well, no, it wasn't the Daily Show. What did he do? He did the Colbert Report. He was perfect for that. Like, he had that down. He basically went and did late night and still did a version, like a watered down version of the Colbert Report, but instead of being like right wing, which was the funny part, is that it was like mockery. Like he was playing a conservative guy in the Colbert Report, but he very clearly isn't, and that was the whole joke of it, you know? But then he comes on and he's like super fucking libtard on the Colbert Report, and every joke has to be fucking political because that's his humor. He's just like a political comedian commentator type of guy, which there's a place for that too. Like, I'm not dishing on that, but is that what you want to hear on a late night television show? With the Colbert Report, you knew that's what you were getting. If I'm watching late night, I don't give a fuck about that. And just not really that funny. Sorry to any Colbert fans out there. Never thought he was funny. Kimmel, because he's been doing it for so long, fine. Don't care. He could stay. Fallon's fine in my book. But the rest of them gotta go. The rest of them absolutely fucking suck. Don't care about any of them. See you later. And that's another thing, is podcasting has replaced all that. It's replaced all this late night garbage. Anything that you think is funny and comedy and whatnot on these talk shows, like, all these late night shows. And look at what happened to Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres was supposed to be funny. She had a great daytime television show that was, supposed to be real funny and whatnot. That fell apart too. It's because people don't care about these programs anymore. We have podcasting. We have it, and it feels more real and raw, and like it's not overly produced. And you have 18 writers that are telling you what's funny. You got one professional comedian, one or two professional comedians riffing off each other and being hilarious and giving their hot takes, and you have a full hour to fill, and it's not all hyper produced. That is the future of media, and it's already taken place, and that's why all these legacy medias and shows like The Fucking View and Colbert are trash, and they're getting canceled, and honestly, can't blame it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not rooting that Colbert got fired. I don't want the guy to be jobless. I'm not happy about that. I just understand. It makes sense to me. It's not funny. It was not good, and it never fucking was. So, your ratings and all that, don't care. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Obviously, people weren't watching, and obviously, the producers and the heads of CBS thought that it was time to make a change. I am curious to see who fills in that role, if anybody, or if they just decide no more late night. I'm sure somebody will fill in. But hopefully somebody fucking good and funny. That would be an absolute treat. And it won't matter to me because I won't watch it. Because I don't watch late night television. There we go. We got it all out. Thank you guys so much for joining me yet again here on the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go put a warm towel on my swollen lymph node. And hopefully tomorrow it'll be a lot better. And we won't have to freak out anymore. Remember, folks, take care of yourself. Take care of your mental. Take care of your physical. Take care of your spiritual. Get them all in line. Get them all strong and working good for you. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself because you deserve it. And most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. You've got to keep on keeping on.
Life's a garden, dig it.